All right, we're talking where to focus during uncertain times. So, a lot of talk is happening, right? We're seeing the economy, we're seeing the market, we're seeing gas prices, inflation, right? I've heard certain people talking about layoffs already. So, how do we prepare ourselves for uncertain times? That's what we're going to be talking about today. And here is what I want you to know: there are so many things you can be doing now to prepare yourself and to really weather this storm. Now, recessions, pandemics, like whatever, right? Whatever happens, there's absolutely a way to get through it, and to not just get through it and break even, or to get through it and just lose a little bit of money, but to actually get through it and profit, to get through it and to be better on the other side of it. All right. As a business owner who has been through a recession in 2008, right? And then the pandemic, I can tell you that yes, there were definitely some challenging moments and some challenging times, but both of those crazy incidences, right? They made us stronger. All right. And not only that, and this is going to maybe sound bad, but I do want to say it. Not only did it make us stronger, but a lot of our competitors went away. It becomes survival of the fittest. How many of you have been in business long enough to experience a recession? Right? I would love to know that. So, we're going to be diving in. I've got some really good stuff that I want to share with you today. Okay. Now, there is a lot of uncertainty, and a lot of us can start to, especially business owners, we can start to just freak out because we're hearing things. The more you watch the news, the more you listen to, maybe you have a spouse that really is into the news and they're sharing and they're always telling you, or you've got a neighbor that's always bringing up, oh, did you hear about this? Or a friend that always talks about gas prices and screenshots you the message and all the things, right? Now, many business owners are feeling it, right? And people are coming to me asking, what do I do? How do I make sure I make it through it, and not just like barely make it, but really make it and do well with it? So it can be really tempting to add more products, revise your marketing strategy, go in a different direction, right? What happens is business owners think, I've got to change what I'm doing. I've got to add, I've got to modify, I've got to all the things, right? And I will tell you, a lot of the times, it's not about making massive changes. It's going to be in the little tweaks, okay? So instead of making massive changes, what you want to be thinking about is, what do I need to double down on right now? What is my current bestseller? Not what was it, but in this market, what are people attracted to, right? What is already working? I want you to stay there and I want you to lean in. Okay. So today's training is going to be all about where to focus, what to focus on during challenging times. And there's a PDF that goes along with it to help you craft your bestseller. So I have this thing called the bestseller framework. You are going to want to grab it, type in the word framework below, and I will get that over to you. Okay. So, with that said, let's talk a little bit about this. So, when the economy, right, starts to look a little unpredictable, or you start to know something bad is going to be happening. It is happening, right? It's normal to feel like you need to do something about it, to make some big changes in your business, to really feel like a revenue increase, right? Or to create a safety net. But you're already overworked and you're already creating a new income stream, right? Like all of the things, if you all of a sudden start to do that, it starts to feel like there's just too much and you're being stretched too thin. We do not want to put more unnecessary added pressure. Okay. So instead of doing more, you just need a framework for creating and optimizing your bestseller. So here's what I always do when something like this happens, right? I go back to, who is my ideal person? And please don't hear ideal person and think newbie. I don't need to hear this. I'm too far along. Just stick with me for a minute. I have two different seven-figure businesses, and this is what I ask myself when tough times are happening. Who is my person? And what do I sell? And where do those two things overlap? So I'm always like make two circles, right? Who is my ideal client? What do I sell, right? And what do they want from me? So like that little in between section, right? What are they actually interested in buying from me today? not before, right? And then you ask them, like, how do I serve in this type of market? How do I serve? How do I pivot or tweak a little bit of my offering, right? Or my messaging to still lean into my bestseller? So here's what you have to realize: you don't need to go and like craft something brand spanking new. You just need to say, does the market right now demand something different because of what is happening with the economy? Right? Are their needs changing? Are their fears changing? Are their struggles changing, right? What do you need to be thinking about? Okay? So again, who is my person? What do I sell, but how can I serve them in this specific economy with what is happening? Some of you, here's the amazing part. Some of you, a recession will blow up your business, right? What you sell, people need more of in a recession. Some of you, it might be more disposable income and they may not be interested in buying when money gets tight. So we really have to make sure we're redefining this, right? So I put this on the slide just to help you kind of go through it, right? I help, and then ideal client insert, do, right, the outcome of your offer, by or through your offer, so they can, here's the big one, what's the perceived value? So even with like my dance and music school, when recessions hit and money gets tight, I would have thought we would have been the first thing people cut out of their expenses, right? Like that is, the dance and music is not something your 5-year-old needs in a recession. But here is what I realized after going through a recession. I realized that mom and dad didn't want to impact their child with cutting things out first. It's not that they didn't do it eventually at some point. Some people did, but they think about it. If you're a parent and you get your nails done and your kids take dance and you have to cut one out, a lot of moms are going to paint their nails themselves and keep taking their kids to dance class, right? And I didn't realize that until we were in it. Parents coming up and saying, like, we knew maybe dad lost his job or this happened or that happened. And mom was like, we're never quitting. Like, we will figure it out. Like, I don't care what we have to do. Like, I was hearing things like that and I was like, whoa, right? And my point here is the messaging will change. You need to reevaluate when times get tough, right? So you have to ask yourself, how will your person be affected by what is going on? Okay, so right now, if I looked at foot traffic and I looked at my online consulting business, I see some people getting already a little nervous, right? They're starting to, like, everybody is, you're always nervous when there's an unknown. When it hasn't happened yet, you don't know what is hitting or how it's going to hit or what this is going to look like, and that unknown can be really, really scary. And I can see some people, their mindset, right, can start to almost like predetermine your outcome because you've put into your head that things are going to get bad, and not in a way that you feel that you can accomplish and tackle it, but in a way that you're like, this is going to get bad for me, versus, well, I don't care what happens because I'm going to be here and I'm going to figure this out. Do you see what I'm saying? So I want you to reevaluate, first of all, what has actually happened so far and how have you been affected so far? Some of you might go, I haven't been affected at all, right? Okay. Some of you are going to say, no, I'm in an area where there was massive layoff. We serve a lot of people in that certain company, right? We're in that local radius and people come to us, right? Some of you are like, no, I'm nationwide. So even if that did get hit, this over here didn't matter, right? So I want you to first just like take the drama out of what you're hearing in the news. I just interviewed Gretchen Rubin. You haven't heard it yet on the podcast. And I loved what she said about the news. So she said, that a lot of times, first of all, the news is just like over, what am I trying to say? Like rinse and repeating the same message. And the more you hear it, the more it feels like even worse, even though it's the same thing. Okay. And she said something, there's music and there's this, and there's just so much more drama, or the way that somebody says it. Right. And she said, I like to read a few unbiased newspapers because when it's just words, when it's just text, it doesn't feel as dramatic. right? So I want you to reevaluate right now what has actually happened. Okay. From there, I want you to think about how will this affect your person, if at all, in a negative way. Some of you, like I said, your business will skyrocket in a recession. Okay. So, will this be you? And if not, I want you to think about reevaluating a couple things. Number one, price. Now, I am not saying discount, I am not saying lower your price, but I am saying reevaluate if this price point is still a good fit for what you're doing. Some of you might want to lower the barrier of entry to get in to whatever it is you sell. So, what I mean by that is a lower barrier of entry. The thing I want you thinking about is what is your cheapest, your least expensive way to buy and engage with your company? So, in my studio, it's probably like 70-ish dollars to come into a monthly dance class. Okay. So, for $70, then that's what it is, right? From there, this I would say in foot traffic, we have higher priced products, but to get started working with us, we have a course for $47. So do you see what I'm saying? I'm not going and discounting well-oiled operations. Like that program is only going to raise in price even through the recession because it becomes more valuable, right? But my lowest barrier of entry is 47, which means I still give people the opportunity to work with me, to buy for my company. So I want you to reevaluate right now, what is your lowest barrier of entry? And is there something low enough for somebody to try? So, again, you just heard me say you're not going to discounting your main signature program and offer, but maybe let's say $70 for the dance class was a lot. I might decide, you know what? What if we just sold one class, just one class, one day, and it was $7 or $10 or whatever it is, right? Just for them to try us out. Because once they try us out, it will be easier for them to say, okay, I can invest in this. We've had people say, well oiled is too expensive for me. I can't join. And then they buy our smaller price product. And then when they're in there and they see how valuable this $47 product is, right? All of a sudden they go, okay, I just got this much value from this. I can only imagine what's inside of Well Oiled. I'm in. So, do you see what I'm saying? A lower barrier of entry can actually get people in a hard economic time still buy from you, but get to test you out and then go to your next offer. Okay. All right. Next, I want you to reevaluate the benefit. So, maybe my benefit as a dance studio owner is the kids are going to have fun together. They're going to meet new friends, right? All the things. Okay. But maybe I switch my benefit of during this time, right? Thinking about giving them, I did this during the pandemic, give them consistency in at least one area. When the kids were not in school, when they were still virtually homeschooling, right? We were open for dance classes because we were allowed to be. So we made our messaging talk about the benefit of like one time, once a week, giving your child an interaction with other kids in person. We didn't change selling dance classes to selling something else in a pandemic. We changed how we sold the dance classes, right? So, how does your benefit change now where we're heading? What will this look like? What will you talk about? Which leads into messaging. Again, I want you to stay true to your bestseller. I want, if it still makes sense, like some people had to massively pivot during the pandemic with their bestseller, right? The recession, probably not as much. Okay. So, with your bestseller, use that bestseller framework. If you haven't typed in the word framework below, do that or message me on Instagram framework and I'll send it to you. But I want you to go through that bestseller framework and write everything out. And I want you to ask yourself, does this still apply to the time of what's going on at this moment, right? So maybe you've got all these features and benefits of this program, this product, this service, whatever it is you're selling, but unfortunately, the messaging doesn't make sense for this time right now. Now I'm recording this in I'm like, what month are we in? June of 2022. Okay. 2 months from now, something massive could happen, right? And it could be another change in our messaging. And there's always a change in messaging for the sake of what is happening right now, right? As we enter into summer, there's different messaging than as we ramp back up into the school year. So, how are you pivoting your messaging? This is where I see a lot of people struggle with their marketing. Their messaging doesn't change. It's the same old, same old. They've been using the same messaging for 7 years, pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, after, it doesn't matter, right? And you've got to ask yourself, like, your people are changing. They are changing when big things happen, when uncertainty happens in the world. But if you aren't tweaking your messaging and meeting them where they're at, you're going to miss the opportunity. Okay. Now, one big thing that I want to bring up, when I say be aware of what's going on and address it, right? Bring it up. This is my method. You can hopefully copy this if you want, but you don't have to. I think this is the way to do it. I think people want, like, you ever heard the phrase, people buy and they run away from pain or they run towards pleasure? Some marketers sell hard, really, really hard in running away from pain. It works. However, what I think people want now more than ever is they want to leave the pain, but they want to run towards the pleasure at the same time. They want to see that you are the person that's going to be optimistic, that's going to get through this, that's going to get to them on the other side of this, right? So I want you to don't lean so hard into the pain right now. I want you to address it so you don't look like you don't know what's going on in the world, right? But then from there, I want you to let them know, like, you're the place to be. You're the company that's going to be here and you will weather this storm and you want to weather it with them, right? So I always talked about in the pandemic, like being optimistically realistic, really kind of tying those two things together to make sure people didn't think like I was so unrealistic that I was basically lying to myself or getting their hopes up or anything like that, right? How can you be optimistically realistic in your messaging, right? Now, I will tell you that was one of the biggest things, that biggest compliments we got was we didn't know what was happening. We didn't know what was going on, but we were always addressing and letting people know like what's coming and what we plan to do. And just all the things, because when you see certain businesses start going out of business, start closing, start cutting back hours, we're not doing this anymore. Oh, we can't do this, right? Or we've just done this. The more you don't tell your customers and clients what's going on, the more you freak them out. And the more they will not want to be with a business that doesn't look like it's doing well. Okay. I will not forget the last recession. One of our competitors lowered their prices. It wasn't a situation where people were like, yay, discount. It made them look like they needed to do anything to get anybody. And I actually think them lowering their prices hurt their sales even more. You can raise your prices in a recession. You can definitely raise your prices when inflation is going on like it is right now. If anybody that I was shopping with or looking at right now started to lower their prices, what would you think about that? There's no way you would think, wow, they must be doing really good. They just lowered their rates, right? You're going to start to think they must not be doing well. They just lowered their rates when everybody else is increasing their prices. I mean, I can't walk into another building, right, business, without seeing a sign that says either one of two things, like one, we're short staffed, so bear with us, right? Or another of new price increase effective X, right? Yes, you start to look desperate and people will feel that energy. Yeah, absolutely, Nicolette. So you want to make sure that your freaking out moment is not all over your messaging, your marketing, without you knowing it. And some people, that's the thing. It's not like somebody lowered their prices and said, we're desperate. They thought, we're faking this. Let's just look like we're helping them, right? But people can feel it. People know when something's up. Okay. So there are many ways that you can increase your sales and revenue and improve your profit margin, no matter what is going on. In fact, many business owners are overspending on things that aren't even doing them any good. But because they don't properly track, they just keep wasting that money. If you could be constantly looking at your numbers and looking at what was working and what wasn't, and started deleting the things that weren't working, right? You would be increasing your profit margin even if your gross revenues went down. All right. Before you go, comment the word framework below or DM me on Instagram framework, and I'm going to get you our best seller framework over to you. I want you fill that out. I want you to then take that information and say, why does this matter in this economy? Who's going to want this even in this economy? Now, as somebody in foot traffic who serves businesses, I know that some businesses will go out of business in a recession. That's a fact. Like I guarantee you there's always been a recession where businesses are always going out of business because again, it's the survival of the fittest. Now, I could lean into that and think, "Oh my goodness, my numbers are going to tank. Some of my businesses that I serve are going to be going out of business," right? But here's the thing. I also know that there will be always people that thrive, that actually do really, really well in a recession. Always. And if I can be there to serve those people, it won't matter if some of my clients can no longer afford, right? So don't think, oh my goodness, this is going to affect me so much. It's going to affect all of us. But if we lean into our bestseller and we lean into the ideal client from today. So just like I said, you might have to tweak your bestseller a little bit. You may have to tweak your ideal client a little bit. It may be somebody that will have extra money in a recession, that still values things like dance classes, right? Or the businesses that know they're not leaving and they're not quitting and they're going to figure this out and they're going to want to look for somebody like me, right? So tweak, little tweaks, not big, massive changes. It's hard enough to start a new business or a new product when times are good. If you're going to do that when times aren't, it's going to be so much testing. Testing takes so much time, right? You don't have time right now. You don't have time. So, the best use of your time is to make little tweaks, little refinement to get you selling more, even through a recession. All right. I hope you enjoyed today's training, comment framework, or DM me on Instagram framework, and I will get that over to you right away. Enjoy. I will see you next week, Thursday, live here in our free Facebook group, The Foot Traffic Operations.